we all acknowledge that there are two key players driving the change we are seeing in the financial sector: traditional banks and fintech companies. For you as AZA Finance, where do you put yourself? Are you a traditional financial service provider, or you are a fintech company? What is your offering to the ecosystem?
Thank you very much. I think it's an easy question to answer. We are a fintech company. We are not a traditional bank, but banks can also be some level of fintech also. AZA is operating in 115 countries, and our core focus has been on payments and treasury. And one of the things we've been doing in all these markets is working with licensed partners like banks and PSPs, because we believe in collaborating within the ecosystem. Our business model is always B2B. So we always want to work with a partner to deliver the last mile services. So to answer it very shortly, we are a fintech company providing these key services in 115 countries.
Banahene, one of the outcomes, if we should attain the $18.6 billion revenue, will be increasing financial inclusion. One of the outcomes will be increasing financial inclusion and bringing the unbanked population into the banking sector. What do you think will be some of the toolkits that fintech offers as an opportunity for driving that financial inclusion that we all desire?
In 2011, it went to about $2 billion, right? Last year, we did about $4.8 billion. We're targeting about $5 billion. And one of the mix that has changed that conversation is digital termination of remittances directly into mobile wallets and into bank accounts, right? And some of this is as a result of collaborations between banks and fintechs, right? So there's a unique way to reach the unbanked by leveraging on certain levels of technologies of the fintechs and also their nimbleness, which my fellow colleagues have already mentioned. I know Mr. Wa mentioned something about regulation being a bit tough on banks than the fintechs. Good thing about Ghana is that we have a fintech innovation unit that has the same regulation for banks and fintechs when it comes to financial technology. So there's no difference in that sector. But the good thing also is, Mr. Wa, fintechs rely on your infrastructure from an operational perspective and the compliance infrastructure and technology infrastructure also. But fintechs are nimble to reach certain spaces that banks cannot reach. So this digital termination of remittances allow people in the hinterlands to access remittances, and previously they couldn't. Even if they could, they had to depend on somebody in Accra or Kumasi to go to a banking hall and answer about 20 questions to get a remittance money and bring it to them, and sometimes they give stories that their money got stolen or all those kind of things. So yes, the future happened yesterday. Fintechs are collaborating. We in AZA, for instance, we operate in 115 countries. And then when we tell our story about some of the challenges we face in different markets, a bit different from what is in Ghana, but almost the same, where in certain markets at all, there's no something like GIP. You can't settle directly into a bank account, right? It has to go through some approval processes before funds are credited into an account. So I think there's a unique way of fintechs utilizing their resources. In AZA Finance, we have a robust technology. We have an infrastructure that we've leveraged in the 115 countries. The banks have their robust compliance infrastructure that we rely on to make sure that whatever transactions we are doing is avoiding any form of money laundering, right? So there's that level of collaboration from a technology perspective and an operational perspective.
You seem to be focusing on technology driving the game-changing fintech space. What are some of these technologies that are driving those changes? And why have the banks not been able to invest into those technologies? Because if it's our money, the banks have the money. So why are we not seeing the banks investing in those technologies that are making all the changes we are seeing in the fintech ecosystem?
So I'll answer your questions in two folds. In the first fold, primary responsibility or focus of banks have been financial intermediary, right? They were focused on driving deposit loans and a couple of transactions and some level of payments with cards. Now, these fintech technologies, I'm not talking about new technologies like blockchain or AI or Internet of Things, but creating something you call a switch. So for instance, in Ghana, we had a switch to drive card payments or card withdrawals, right? But these fintechs were able to understand the needs and problems of the unbanked And one of the things were that people wanted to receive payments at their convenience. And how do you do that? You have to create a solution that connects the bank with the last mile transaction, right? So Fintech created something we call APIs and other services that allow you to connect two businesses together. For instance, AZA Finance, we have an API that can connect 1,001 remittance companies with banks and PSPs in different markets to do last mile termination. And that technology of API is the focus that we focus on. We're not saying banks cannot do that, but the banks do need to invest that money into it. Because remember, when the bank core focus is not driving full payments, they are doing several things. When you build an API, it's not just building the API and it stands on its own. There's a whole conversation around there, people managing it, there's monthly maintenance, there's several costs around it. If you look at the cost-benefit analysis, do you work with a fintech to provide you that API, or you do it yourself? So there are business decisions that allows banks to work with fintechs than doing it by
Mr. Banahene, how does the future look like?
The future looks great. Myself and AZA Finance, we see the future of the African market and Ghana especially. We improve on cross-border payments, right, to drive continental trades. So our ability to do cross-border payment is something that in some few years, hopefully no more than 5 years, this should be an active. I know there's PAPs, but there can always be different payment trails. I know some banks are doing their own payment trails, but there should be that cross-border payment, and AZA is looking forward to collaborate with key partners to do that. Also, the access to certain financial services. We've spoken about financial inclusion a lot, but it's limited to a certain service. Certain financial inclusions are not available to people, and my senior colleague mentioned loans. You know, some people, I know there's some level of soft small loans, but I mean immediate loans for certain small businesses, having the right credit analysis technology available to profile them, having the right payment rails to pay the money in a more faster way. In terms of insurance, in terms of the capital market, I heard her speaking, and I think last time I was speaking to a friend, and he told me the volumes on a daily basis on the capital market, and I personally feel we can do more with collaboration and technology. Also, the future should look at how the diasporans, because as you know, we are traveling a lot. Every day, people are moving to the diaspora, and there's a correlation. People are looking to buy houses. People are looking to pay for pensions for their family members in Ghana. People are looking to save money for their family members in Africa. How are we going to collaborate together to make sure this level of relationship between the diaspora and the African market is happening?
Thank you.